Connie. Welcome to the first part of our 4-part hip opening series. So we're going to start today lying down on our back. So just take a moment to get yourselves comfortable there. And you're just going to bring the soles of the feet together and just let those knees just sink out down towards the ground. If this feels uncomfortable for you, then maybe you just want to pop a block or a pillow just underneath here, underneath the knees to get you a bit more comfortable. Just placing one hand onto the belly and one hand onto heart center. Just take a moment to get nice and comfortable, making any adjustments you may need to. And just gently shut those eyes closed. And we're just going to start by bringing awareness through the whole body here. So I want you to take a mental scan, starting through the toes, working into the feet, and just observe how the body is feeling today. And with every breath in, I just want you to create more space into the body here. So we're going to be focusing on our hips, which is a place where we hold a lot of emotion, a lot of tension. So we want to really make sure we're using our breath to find some space in those parts of the body. So just working all the way through the legs, into the hips, all the way into the belly, the chest, into the arms. Just observe how the body is feeling. Take some breaths, create that space. Notice how the hips are feeling in this reclined Baddha Konasana. You're going to feel nice and open here. Now just taking the awareness to the mind. Notice if the mind is soft, if the mind is clear, or maybe it's busy. Doesn't matter how the mind is, no judgment here. Just observe, simply notice. And throughout today's practice, we really want to work into those hips, really helping to release them unwanted feelings that we hold in that area of the body. Starting to bring some awareness back to the body now, just maybe moving those fingers, moving the toes, and we're going to gently work our way all the way up to our seated butterfly pose. So just start by releasing the arms, pressing the elbows into the ground, pressing the forearms into the ground to come all the way up. And we're just going to briefly sit through our butterfly pose, and then you're going to walk those hands forwards, if you can, bringing the forearms down to the ground. If that doesn't work for you, then just come up on the hands. So we want to create a nice hinge through the hips. So allow those knees to be nice and wide here. Take some deep breaths, find some relief. On your next breath in, just gently bringing those hands all the way behind you, releasing those legs, just bringing the feet as wide as the mat, soles come to the ground. And you're just going to move those legs from left to right, just realigning those hips. So moving those legs like windscreen wipers, just to neutralize the spine. A few more either side. Wonderful. Bringing those legs all the way back to neutral and just sliding them all the way behind you, coming into our plank pose. So just bringing the palms down to the ground, spread those fingers nice and wide so you've just got a good ground here. Tucking those toes, bringing them all the way behind you, engaging the core, find your plank pose. Just dropping the hips down just slightly, take a breath in and out. On the next breath in, see if you can just rise that right foot all the way to the outside of the right hand and just gently drop that knee all the way down to the ground here. Take a couple of breaths. And from here, we're going to see if we can work down onto our forearms, coming to our full lizard pose. If this is too much for you, then feel free to just stay up on the hands. Just find your lizard. And see if you can release that right hand now, and you're just going to press it onto the onto the inside of that right leg. So if you can just press that hip open, coming onto the outer edge of that right foot. Take some nice deep breaths. So you're really going to feel this in the left hip and in that left quadricep as well as your right hip. So this is a good one for both hips. Take some breaths. And gently moving all the way back to center, bringing those hands all the way back up to plant on the mat. And you're going to tuck those left toes under, stepping all the way back to your plank pose. Take a moment, take a breath in. Breathing out, drop the knees down, bring those big toes together, spread the knees wide, and you're going to sit back just briefly. Inhale here, exhale, sit back to your child's pose. Inhale, moving forward, allow those hips to sink into the ground. Exhale, moving back. Inhale, moving forwards. Exhale, coming back. Inhale, moving all the way forwards. And once you're here, you're going to tuck those toes under, coming all the way back to your plank pose. Take one breath here. And on the next breath in, rising that left leg all the way forward to come to the outside of that left hand. Drop the right knee down to the ground, untucking the toes. And we're going to walk ourselves back into our lizard pose. So just seeing if you can come down on the forearms. If you can't, then just coming back onto those hands, that's fine. Or if you need to pop a pillow or block underneath you, then go ahead and do so. Take some deep breaths. Feel that stretch in the left and the right hip here. And maybe see if you can just lift that left hand, pressing into the inside of that left leg. And just opening up through the hip, so rolling onto the outer edge of the foot. Take some breaths. And slowly bringing that leg all the way back to neutral, pressing the hands all the way back up. Tuck those left toes under. Step back to your plank pose. One breath. Drop those knees down, big toes to come together, spread the knees wide. Moving back through that child's pose motion now, so take a breath in with me. Exhale, sink down. Inhale, coming all the way back through, lowering the hips down towards the ground. Exhale, sinking back. Inhale, moving through. Exhale, sinking back. Inhale, moving through. Exhale, sinking back, and we're going to move back through to our plank pose. So stretching those legs out behind, tucking the toes under, taking one breath here. As we inhale, the right leg's going to come to the outside of the right hand. Drop that left knee down, and this time with the help of the right hand, you're just going to slide that right foot forward as far as you can. Finding our gecko pose. So just keeping those hands flat on the mat, keeping those arms straight, and you're going to feel a really nice stretch through those hips here, through that left quadricep. Really opening here. Take some deep breaths. Just observe how those hips are feeling, hopefully a lot looser than when we started today. One more breath. And we're going to tuck those left toes under, and you're going to see if you can step all the way back through to your plank pose. One breath. And then gently step the left foot all the way through to the outside of the left hand, dropping that right knee down. And we're going to go ahead and find our gecko pose on the left side now. So just using that left hand to shuffle the foot forwards, Really creating that lovely stretch through both of our hips, through that right quadricep, maybe taking a few pulses to make this a little bit more intense. Some deep breaths. Wonderful. One more breath here. And tucking those right toes under, stepping all the way back to plank as we inhale. And rising those hips, coming all the way to downwards facing dog as we exhale. Take some nice deep breaths here. Notice how that feels. And we're going to just bend those knees, drawing the bottom down towards the heels, and see if you can step those feet to the outside of the hands now, coming through to Malasana Yogi Squat. So just stepping or jumping those feet to the outside of the hands. See if you can sink those hips all the way down. Maybe again you want to pop a block underneath you, go ahead and do so if that feels good to you. And you just want to pop those palms together, pressing those elbows into the inside of the knees, just allowing those hips to open slightly more, keeping that spine nice and tall. Taking a few breaths and gently releasing those hands all the way behind you, sitting the bottom down and just taking a few more windscreen wipers. Moving from left to right. Wonderful. Bringing those knees all the way back to neutral, just straightening those legs out. Find Dandasana staff pose. So you want to flex through the feet here, engage those leg muscles, keep that spine nice and tall. And from here we're going to move into our figure 4 pose. So you're going to bend that right knee and just bring the outside of that right ankle just above the left knee here. And then you're going to bring those hands behind you and just bend that left knee, allowing that right leg to become elevated. So the sole of the left foot is going to be planted on the ground. And using the weight of the heels and the hands, we're just going to press into the ground and see if we can gently move backwards and forwards. Inhale as we go forwards. Exhale as we move back. Inhale, we move forwards. Exhale and back. Inhale forwards and gently planting those hips all the way back down onto the ground, coming down onto those forearms, lying on the back, keeping the legs where they are. And then you're going to gently lift that left foot off the ground and see if you can pop that right hand through that triangle we've made and just grip those hands behind that left thigh, interlacing the fingers and just pulling that left leg in towards you. And with that right elbow, you're going to see if you can just open up that right hip, so pressing into the leg with the elbow, creating a nice stretch for the glutes, and again working on those hip joints. Nice stretch here. One more breath. Wonderful. Gently placing that left foot all the way back down to the ground with the help of your elbows, just pressing yourself all the way back up, and you're just going to change the switch of the legs now. So this time that right sole of the foot is going to be on the ground and that left ankle is going to come just above that right knee. So take a moment to find that figure 4. And as we breathe in, we're going to lift the hips off the ground. So pressing those palms and that right sole of the foot to the ground and just swaying backwards and forwards. Shifting the weight between the hands and the foot. Inhale as we move forwards. Exhale as we move back. Inhale forwards. Exhale back. Inhale forwards, gently planting the bottom back down on the ground and lowering all the way down to your back. And we're just going to gently lift the sole of the right foot off the ground now and just thread that left hand through that triangle, interlacing the fingers behind the right thigh. Finding some gentle stretches here, using that left elbow to open up the hip. Some nice deep breaths. Just noticing how that feels. One more breath here. Gently releasing the hands all the way by the sides. Bringing those knees all the way into the chest. If you can wrap those arms around the legs, just rocking from left to right. Maybe making a few circles with the knees. And we're just going to stretch those legs all the way out in front of us to find Shavasana. So just bringing the feet wider than hip distance apart. Let those feet fall out to either side. And just bring those palms to face the sky. Closing the eyes. Just let the mind and the body be completely relaxed. With every breath, just imagine that you're relaxing every single part of the body here. Just completely letting go. Maybe taking a mental scan from the toes all the way up to the crown of the head. Just noticing how the body's feeling now. Whether you've managed to relieve some tension today, or maybe you've still got some tension lying there. In time it will pass. So just let the body completely relax in your Shavasana. Finding your breath, taking some time to come all the way back to your center. And in your own time, just gently bringing some awareness back to the fingers and the toes. If you've got a bit more time today, then feel free to stay in your Shavasana. Just bringing some movement back. And we're going to slowly roll ourselves over to the right hand side now. So just rolling onto the right hand side, coming to your fetal position. So just bringing that right arm underneath the head, drawing those knees towards the chest. Keeping the eyes closed. And just slowly pressing yourself all the way up to our cross-legged pose, Sukhasana. Find that nice long spine. Keep the eyes closed. Let those shoulders drop down. And slowly bringing those hands in front of heart center. Blinking the eyes open. Namaste everyone. Thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed today's class.